You're watching Business Unusual here on Newzroom Africa Channel 405. We're taking a look at some of your top business stories and how they impact you. With me in studio is Makwe Masilela from Makwe Fund Managers. And Makwe, before we went to the break, I started to flag, of course, one of the big stories that came out of last week. And we saw that announcement coming through late on Thursday or early on Friday about, I guess, what the negotiations Pioneer Foods was, giving us a clue about. And those involved a massive player there, PepsiCo. We know that company. They're the guys who make knickknacks. They're the guys who make Lays and even the Pepsi that we drink. And in a tie-up here with a massive food company here in South Africa, Pioneer Foods, who are involved in the production of a wide array of products and brands. Might be familiar with some of them. I think the likes of the Wheat Bix and Liquid Fruit and many other brands that we see. Just give us a sense of what happened there, and more importantly, what's the state of play in that tie-up?
You know, Pepsi, they said they're going to be paying almost 24 billion, which amounts to almost 110 rands per share, which is a nice premium, over 35%, given what has been happening with the share price of Pioneer.
Sure.
But now you have to ask yourself that, is that money, are they paying it for liquid fruit and CS? Because remember, Pepsi, they're not into bread, they're not into rice, they're not into meal. But anyway, that is what Pioneer is. But I think Pepsi, they're also buying into the whole network to make sure, because we know that when it comes to the network, the distribution, Pioneer are doing very well. But yes, it's also a vote of confidence, you know, for our economy, vote of confidence as well, you know, for the shareholders. Remember, I mean, you've got the likes, other shareholders like Zida. I mean, they bought those shares 5 years back, you know, they paid it 99 rand or so, so they only make 11 rands just over 5 years.
Yeah.
So
look, but Makwe, I mean, that share price is nowhere near where it was.
Sure.
Just clearing, I guess, the 200 rand mark a few years ago.
210,
around
2015,
so. Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
So they're getting it very cheap, and I think that's very clever, you know, when it comes to Pepsi. But the biggest concern as well is that, hey, Pepsi, are you going to retrench the workers, given the high unemployment rate, you know, that we have? What is it that you're going to be doing to make sure that Pioneers become not even a global player, but more of a continental player, you know? So are you going to help them to make sure that we know they've got the best of when it comes to the research and development? But now, if it's just going to be a question of Pepsi piggybacking on what Pioneer have for now, then I think more or less for me it's a loss for the country.
And I think, Makwe, that's a massive debate, certainly when we talk about attracting investment into our economy. The President, Cyril Ramaphosa, speaks quite a lot about this sort of drive to attract investment into our economy. And many people would see this kind of takeover by PepsiCo as that kind of investment that we want. But I get a sense that absent of any, I guess, increases in production or going into newer markets, be it on the continent or even in the global south broadly, then this is potentially not a big win for South Africa.
By all means, it's not helping. Pepsi will be the one who are benefiting. And I think we have to qualify. When we talk about attracting investment, we're talking investments that will also come and help to create the necessary jobs and the sustainable jobs. So as you are saying, if it's going to be a question of them paying, then retrenching people, we know you still have to go through the competition tribunal, stuff like that. And usually they'll come with conditions that, hey, you don't have to retrench, maybe have a moratorium for the next coming 18 months, 2 years. I think maybe we have to be more strict. Look what happened when Massmart was bought, you know. They made them sure that they invest in the whole value chain. Hopefully, maybe they'll come with those kind of conditions that we realize the whole benefits and make sure that we realize the whole value chain and make sure that Pepsi also invest in that whole value chain.
We've been talking quite a bit, I guess, over the last few days or so in the news wires about, you know, the Stellenbosch Mafia and all manner of other things. And I often lump one company into that kind of characterization, PSG.
Sure.
And of course, Yanni Mouton's baby there. And they had massive investments in Zida Investments, which of course held just under 30% of the ordinary share capital of Pioneer Foods in this case. What does this mean for them?
It's a nice cash out for them, and hence so far they've already had almost 52% shareholders approval. These are the likes of Zida and PSG. So that's cash out for them. Like we said, Zida paid 99 rands, and so far the share has been doing nothing. So they just managed to make 11 rand. But for them, I think it's a nice payout. And as you said, the likes of Motong, they should be happy, and definitely they'll use that money, the likes of Zida, to pay off their debt and also look into making, maybe getting into other businesses. But the most important thing, Zida should be able to pay down most of its debt.
Now, I can't let you go, Makwe, without, I guess, touching on the issues that are happening at Group 5. A business rescue process underway there, and it seems that some of the workers who didn't take that voluntary retrenchment package and who are looking, I guess, for a normal severance package here are still waiting for their money, many of them coming out and saying they've maxed out their credit cards. and finding themselves in a tight squeeze there, and the business rescue practitioners saying, "Ayikho le mali."
It's just so unfortunate, and to think that the business rescue themselves, they managed to raise money to make sure that they pay the advisor, stuff like that. It just shows you that this whole thing is just lip service when people say workers are our most important asset. It's just so unfortunate. Just because the guys didn't take the package, then they have to be in this situation. I don't think it's fair. And I think maybe one has to revisit this whole thing of maybe business rescue to see who's in first, who's in line first, you know, because we know that the other creditors have to be paid first. So are you saying those creditors are more important than your workers? I don't think it's right.
So how does it normally work with these business rescue processes? Do you pay out the advisors and the practitioners first, and then, of course, maybe some of the workers, and then maybe other
Not
creditors?
first, continuously.
How does it work?
Advisors, whatever they get to be paid continuously. Because I charge you, I'm a consultant. I'm in there, you know, I'm delivering my services. I have to invoice you now and then. Look what happened to the likes of Steinhoff, that they had to pay almost 1.5 billion when it comes to advisors. So they just continue to pocket money, and fairly so, because those guys are putting their time. They're helping you to work out this whole thing. Whether they're going to help you make sure that it gets out of the troubles, we don't know. But the fact is the guys that are putting in their hours, and definitely they'll continue to invoice you. Hence, I'm saying it's not a question of paying them out first, but you pay them out continuously.
Have we seen something similar in the past? And the reason why I ask that is many of the workers, who, I guess, who are involved in this particular issue, who are supposed to have been paid by the end of May, might be watching the show and asking themselves, what kind of recourse, aside from, I guess, flagging that they haven't been paid yet, what other recourse do they have?
I think the recourse will continue to be the courts, you know, to say that is this really fair? And in my opinion, the face of it is not fair, because those are the people that you should pay first, you know, to make sure that, guys, here's your package, whatever it is, you know, work it out. Pay them, let them go. And then whatever is left with whatever assets, if you cannot, and as you said, we hardly see business gets to be rescued, you know. Whatever assets that you're going to be selling out, then you pay those creditors, because as a creditor, you should be prepared to take some haircut, whether it's going to be 50% or 80%, but you should be prepared to take some haircut. But for workers to do that, I don't think it's fair, in my opinion.
Now, in the construction sector, the other story that was doing the rounds, I guess, late last week and right through into the weekend, was the Competition Commission. And I saw them on Twitter coming out strongly saying the merger between Murray and Roberts and Athens should be opposed.
You know, and given what is happening with Murray and Roberts, remember, I mean, the guys are not doing well at all. And yes, we know this merger had some headwinds, you know, it has been opposed left, right, and center. So it's not surprising that people are saying, no, I think this thing should not go ahead. And listen, these people are getting these companies for a song. Not a bad idea. I'll do the same as an investor. If I see that you are cheap, definitely I'll buy you. And the guys, anyway, they're existing shareholders, so they understand the business. And for them to say, we're happy to buy you outright, obviously they feel that they can turn this around. Yes, it's an international company buying into us, but definitely they see some light that they can work out something. And it might not be making out something from the home ground. Probably maybe they see opportunities when it comes to Europe. Remember, Aaron Roberts, they had that concession when it comes to toll roads as well in Europe. So the guys already are exposed to the international markets. So, but yeah, I think it's one of those that is, let's wait and see and watch the space.
I mean, they must have a lot of faith in Murray and Roberts' ability, even in the underground mining services business. For them to have stuck out for this long, I mean, it's probably about 18 months to 2 years now that they've been trying to sort of stalk this prey.
To be honest with ourselves, we might be complaining that things are not working out, the economy is not working, but there are other parts of the world where things are still happening. People still manage to wake up. Where are they going? They're going to work. So there are activities which are happening, whether it's back home here or into Africa. And remember, South Africa, we're not longer been seen as the destination when it comes to mining. I mean, we've got lots of African countries competing with us, you know, where they, I mean, check our neighbors themselves. They're saying they are platinum. You don't have to go that far. 300-400 meters,
in Zimbabwe,
you get it. You know, so stuff like that. So yes, we must not fool ourselves. Things are still happening out there. So it's not surprising that the guys know and they can see value that, listen, we can still sweat out these assets and still continue to make good money.
It's certainly a tough one there, Makwe, and we'll have to leave it there. And I mean, I'd love to hear from you, maybe just off the record, I guess, what you anticipate in those platinum sector talks, and whether or not, I guess, that massive wage demand that AMCO has been calling for, whether or not, you know, the employer is going to find them close by. We heard a 17,500 their minimum wage. Do you think maybe 14,000 would be a good proposition?
It sounds reasonable, but the question is, are they happy to pay it?
Yeah.
But it sounds reasonable.
Okay, only time will tell. Makwe Masilela, always a pleasure to catch up with you, my brother. Really appreciate you taking time out to speak to us there. That there was Makwe Masilela, Chief Investment Officer and founder at Makwe Fund Managers, talking to us about a wide array of business stories coming out, be it the takeover of Pioneer Foods, or the looming takeover, if I can put it that way, still subject to a few regulatory approvals. Looming takeover there of Pioneer Foods by a global food giant PepsiCo. And of course, we do know that platinum sector wage negotiations continue. And Amplats, which delivered that runaway dividend for their shareholders, of course, are set to table a counter offer to the Association of Mine Workers Construction Union, AMCU, which we know has certainly in the past not been shy to take their workers out on strike for more than 5 months. It's time